Card King, here I come. Hello, sports fans, sports collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I am your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490 AM.com, your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. I thank everyone for tuning in this morning. On the telephone line, I welcome to the program a pitcher from the 1969 California Angels. I welcome in Vern Geishert. Vern, great to have you on. Thanks for being on this morning.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Vern, going through your career, drafted by the California Angels, second round, winter 1966, out of the University of Wisconsin, the Badgers team. I know it was a while ago. Take us back to playing for the University of Wisconsin. Did they prepare you well for what was next in your future, Major League Baseball?
Well, when I was at UW, they didn't have freshman baseball, so I didn't play on the varsity. We had a freshman team and then the varsity, so we just scrimmaged the varsity and played amongst ourselves. And they had a pretty good program there as far as pitching, and I got a pretty good idea actually from their coach, and so that kind of prepared me for the future.
And it's amazing. So you never played on the varsity team. You were picked. You were drafted being a freshman on the freshman team.
Yes.
On the JV.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And your coach, I believe his name was Coach Mansfield. Did you get? How was he as a coach? I know you didn't play for the varsity team, but did you interact with him? Did you feel that he taught the team well?
Yeah, he was a good guy and good coach. They had a pretty good team at that time, and Rick Reichert played for him, and some other guys that were pretty good ball players. So he is a good instructor, really.
And the Badgers NCAA Division I team. And from what I understand, yourself and your catcher at the time, a player by the name of Carlos Evans, he was drafted by the Orioles at the same time, right? Pitcher-catcher.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really amazing. So I know it's like 59 years ago, but when the California Angels drafted you in 66, what exactly, if you could go back, how did you hear the news? What exactly were you doing that day?
Well, I knew that I was going to get drafted, and we lived in Madison, my wife and I, and we went to a wrestling match at the high school. They had a tournament there, and there was a phone call from my grandmother who was babysitting our daughter, and I thought that maybe our daughter was sick, but it was that she said that the Angels had called and said they had drafted me. So I was at the school at the time of the actual draft.
And how did the negotiations go? Did you have to go to California? Did they come down to you? How did all that transpire back then?
There was an attorney in Madison, and Eugene Calhoun, and he had handled Reichert's draft when he got drafted, and he handled mine too. And I didn't get a real big bonus, but I got a bonus anyway. And the Angels came to Madison. We didn't have to go anywhere. And Nick Kamzik, the scout for the Angels, came to Madison and introduced himself to our family and stuff.
And we're talking with Vern Geishert, who was a pitcher for the 1969 California Angels. He's with us this morning. And Vern, so your first stop in professional baseball, from what I understand, and tell me if I'm correct, the 1967 Seattle Angels, because you're on that roster, the Pacific Coast League. Is that correct, Seattle Angels?
Well, my first stop was at Quad Cities, the A-League. And then the first year I was there, and I was at El Paso, Texas, in Double-A, and Triple-A at Seattle. So I was at all three spots the first year, 1966. And in 67 then, I was with the Seattle Angels the whole year. and the Angels were thinking about making me a relief pitcher, so I was mostly in relief, and the next year in '68, I went back to Double-A because they decided I was going to be a starter, and.
Yeah, because I know it's a long time ago, but I mean, it is amazing. And in 1967, wasn't the team headed by Chuck Tanner, the Seattle Angels?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes,
and Chuck Tanner. Oh, go ahead.
I played for him for 3 years, Chuck Tanner, and in '69 I played for him too in Hawaii in AAA over there. And he's the one that recommended that I go to the big leagues.
And, of course, Chuck Tanner, who in 1979 took the Pirates to a World Series, became a World Series champion manager in '79. Did you feel that you learned a lot from Tanner or his coaches?
Yes, I did. When I was in Hawaii in '69, I was in the bullpen to start, and the fellows there were kind of older guys that had been hung around for a while, and they showed me how to throw another pitch, and that pitch kind of took me to the big leagues because I was just throwing fastball, curveball, but then I started throwing a slider in '69, and had real good control of it, so that's what got me to the big leagues.
Amazing. And a few of your teammates from that '67 Seattle Angels team who spent time in the major leagues along with you, some names that I remember well, Chuck Cottier, Johnny Seal, and Lou Burdette. Those three players were on that '67 Seattle Angels team. Did you get along with those teammates?
Oh, yeah. And in fact, one time, Warren Spahn was the manager of one of the other teams in the league, and they were in Seattle, and he came over to our clubhouse, and him and Burdette got into it a little bit, and it was a pretty good joke. Or they were having telling stories and joking around, so that was a pretty good experience, just meeting Warren Spahn, too. So Burdette, I watched him when he played for the Brewers, or the Braves, and I kind of liked him as just before I even played with him. And Collier and Seal, they were pretty good guys too. They were, infielders and stuff. And we had Jimmy Reese was our coach, and he was he had actually the story is that he roomed with Babe Ruth's luggage, and and he was a real good inspiration for me too.
So, I mean, meeting Warren Spahn, that must have been such a thrill. I mean, you were a young ball player, the great Warren Spahn. Yeah,
it was. It was a good experience, that's for sure. He, like I said, he was coaching or managing this other team, and it was a pretty good experience.
Yeah, so '69, Vern, you joined the major league club, the California Angels, and that was a club, I believe, managed by Joe Adcock, right?
No, it was Lefty Phillips.
Lefty Phillips,
was the manager.
Okay. Because I'm looking at some of the statistics, the scouting reports, and it has Joe Adcock. Was he involved with the team, if you remember?
Yeah, he was kind of a coach with them. And he traveled with the team and was involved with the coaching of the hitters and stuff.
And that '69 Angels team, I mean, if we go back, it had some, Hoyt Wilhelm was on the team. Now, how was your interaction with Hoyt Wilhelm?
Well, one time we were, I remember that they were, prior to a game, we were in the outfield playing catch, and he was throwing me his knuckleball, and I couldn't catch it, so I just told him I wasn't going to play catch with him if he couldn't throw just a straight one, because it was all over the place. And but
I mean, Hoyt Wilhelm, a Hall of Famer, a pioneer of the knuckleball. Did he ever give you any pitching advice, if you remember?
Yeah, most of the coaches and other pitchers would just tell you to concentrate on control and being able to throw the ball where you wanted to. And that was the biggest challenge that I had, was hitting spots. And so he taught me that. And so we went from there, trying to just have control of the ball when you're pitching.
Oh, yeah, of course. And, other players on that 69 Angels team, by the way, we're talking with Vern Geishert, who played for the 69 Angels. Other players that I remember from the baseball cards, Jim Fregrossi was on the team, right? Sandy Alomar.
Yes. And
any recollection on Sandy Alomar, Jim Fregrossi, Jim Spencer?
Yeah, after the season that year in '69, we went to winter ball and played in Puerto Rico. And Fregosi was the manager of the team down there, and Alomar was in the town that he was from, in Ponce. And so we knew those guys pretty well. We had and Spencer, he went over to the Seattle Pilots in '69, and I pitched against him a little bit.
And I'm looking at the roster for that '69 Angels team. There were a lot of pitchers on that squad. You had Andy Messersmith, Tom Murphy, Rudy May, Ken Tatum. There were a lot of pitchers. Did you feel that you had to compete? You had to compete to be a starter, right? To really start the game.
Yes, but the first game I was in Cleveland, and I came in relief of Steve Keeley, and I got the win in that game, actually, my first game. And you really didn't compete so much. I didn't feel like it anyway, that I was competing with those guys. I was just trying to do the best I could and, go advance that way. I think that a lot of the guys that worry about the guys coming up or whatever, the other players, they kind of focus on that and they lose their focus for playing the game.
But also, like as you mentioned, from what I'm reading here, August 26, '69 was your first major league appearance. The Angels versus the Indians. You pitched 4 innings and you won that game.
Yeah. It was quite an experience, just getting the win in the first game, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, when pitching for the first time in a major league ballpark, you must have been in awe. How proud of yourself were you at that time?
Well, I remember warming up on the sidelines that I was a little bit wild, being excited about pitching in the game. But once I got in the game and had a pitch to a couple of hitters, I kind of settled down a little bit, and I got through it the 4 innings then. So, but it was a good experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then now your last game, if I'm correct, it came against the Kansas City Royals in October of '69. That was your last appearance in baseball. Do you remember anything about that game besides being at your last game?
Well, I know that I had a no-hitter for about 5 innings, and I didn't get the win, though, in the game. I kind of lost a little bit after 5 innings, but I had a no-hitter going, so I felt pretty good about that. And actually, after that game, when we were in winter ball, I was traded to Cincinnati Reds with Pedro Borbon and Jim McLaughlin. And we went to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati sent, what was his name? He was led the American League in hitting anyway.
Yeah, Chico, was it Chico Ruiz? It was in exchange for Alex Johnson, Chico Ruiz, right? You were traded?
Yes.
So, so you're pitching this game in October '69. Did you have any inkling that this would be your last time playing for the Angels?
No, I didn't. I didn't really realize it until I was traded. And when we were down in Winter Ball, we got a notice that I was traded, and that's the first I knew about it. I didn't know that they were dealing us or anything.
Man, so who broke the news to you? Did you have to go to the manager's office? Did he sit you down?
No, they just had a telegram, and they just gave it to me, or
Well, that's how it was, a telegram,
and we read it in the paper too. We read it in the paper.
So it was a telegram they handed to you. They say it says you're going to Cincinnati.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Now when you were at Cincinnati, I believe it was 71. You were traded by the Reds with Frank Duffy to the Giants in exchange for George Foster, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's actually my claim to fame, is that trade, because Foster turned out to be so good with the Big Red Machine during the 70s, and so that was being traded for him was the notable thing of my career, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, because your name will be forever linked with George Foster due to that trade.
Yes.
Now, it was interesting when we were talking the other day. You told me you pitched to Willie Mays, huh?
Yes. That was in spring training with the Angels. We were over in Phoenix, and I pitched in relief there again for the Angels, and they had Willie McCovey and Willie Mays and those guys, and Willie Mays hit a rocket off me to center field and bounced off the wall and got a double on it, which I was glad, because he didn't get it out of the park. But and that was I pitched in the spring training with the big club, with Cincinnati and with the Angels, but I didn't make the big the team coming out of spring training. I went to AAA.
So, like I asked you during our conversation, pitching to a batter like Willie Mays, one of the best of all time, how would you approach a batter like that? How would you, what would you throw the great Willie Mays if you want to get him out?
Well, you just hopefully that he isn't guessing what you're throwing. And you try to pitch to the corners and stuff, make good pitches on him, and hopefully he doesn't hit it.
And did you throw him your famous slider?
No, it was a famous fastball that he had.
Now, did you go up against Willie McCovey or no?
Yes, yeah. I don't remember what he did off me, but I pitched against him in that same game.
Wow. Any batters that stand in your mind, professional batters that gave you a challenge during your career in baseball?
I pitched against the Twins, and they had Harmon Killebrew and Rod Carew and that bunch there, and that was pretty challenging, pitching against those guys. And then I pitched against the Washington Senators too, and they had Frank Howard, who was a big guy and big power hitter, and I was real concerned about him, so I was pitching real careful. And the next guy hit 2 home runs off me, but Frank Howard didn't do anything. So it's just a good example that you have to concentrate on every hitter when you're pitching in the big leagues.
Wow. And that 69 Angels team, Vern, it finished in 3rd place. You being in the dugout, you being part of that squad, did you feel that team should have been better than the statistics show?
Well, it could have been a little bit better, but the Twins were ahead of them, and we never really were successful against the Twins. So it's just a matter of games that you play that hopefully you can compete with them, the other team, but a lot of times you can't, and it's just a matter of the ability of the players, if they can, hit home runs
produce.
or get produced.
Yeah, if they can produce. And I have a few minutes left. I know Bill Rigney was also part of that '69 Angels team, and I'm from New York, so Bill Rigney, everyone knows, who played for the New York Giants. Did you get along with Rigney?
He wasn't really in spring training, or he was there, but not really around the players too much because, like I say, Lefty Phillips was the manager, and Rigney that was after he was manager, and but I did meet him, and he was a good guy and stuff, but I really didn't know him real well, and he didn't really work so much with me, but he was around the team anyways.
Right. And then so what did you do after baseball? You retired early 70s. So what did you do for your career after baseball ended?
Well, I worked at a creamery in Cross Plains, Wisconsin, and was there for quite a long time, and I made butter, and I eventually was the plant manager there, and that was primarily my career afterwards. And I liked working there too. But anyway,
Now, when you retired, did you still follow the sport of baseball? Do you remember watching that '69 World Series with the New York Mets?
Yeah, yep, I did. I followed it pretty good, especially when it got on. So many games got on TV, and I would watch the ones that, like the Angels, or I always liked the Yankees and the Cubs. So I watched them and as much as I could.
And growing up, did you have an idol in baseball?
I would say somebody like Whitey Ford or Warren Spahn or somebody like that. That's a good pitcher, and they have a long career.
I mean, that's amazing, and you got to meet the great Warren Spahn. And what's very interesting. This would be my last question, Vern. The baseball card business is so big, and you're pictured on that on your first baseball card along with Hal McRae, and your card is one of the most challenging cards for us collectors to obtain because it's part of the high number series, which was produced in very limited quantities. So a lot of us, thousands and thousands of collectors, still go after your 1970 rookie card. The first time you saw, it's such a hard card to get because, like I said, it was produced towards the end of the 1970 season as the season was ending by Topps. So that card was produced in limited quantities compared to the previous cards in that series or that set. So your card is very challenging amongst hundreds of thousands of collectors around the world to obtain. But I want to ask you, the first time you saw your rookie card, how was your reaction? Pretty cool, huh?
It was. We were in one of the places when I was playing in Indianapolis. That's the Cincinnati's AAA. We were in this town, and this kid came up to me, this young fella, and asked me if I'd sign the card. And I didn't even know I was on a card. And I got all excited about it and gave him $1, and he gave me the card. But, yeah, that was the first time that I saw it. And I was amazed that they put me on there. I knew they took the picture in spring training, but I didn't know that I was actually going to be on a card because I wasn't in the big leagues so much, with the Cincinnati anyway. So...
Yeah, no, I mean, again, that's the 1970 card. It was number 683. It's the rookie card of Geishert, McRae, and Wayne Simpson. And they have you pictured in, of course, the Cincinnati Reds uniform. Hal McRae and Wayne Simpson, any recollection on those two?
Yes, I played with Wayne Simpson in AAA, and he was a good guy. And he went to the big leagues and It pitched for quite a while that first year and was undefeated. And he did a real good job with them. And Hal McRae was an outfielder, and he played in Indianapolis also, and was a good ball player, obviously, because they made the big leagues. But anyway, that was, like I say, it was all a good experience for me to play with these guys and get to know them a little bit, and like I say, play with them. That was good.
Absolutely. And Wayne, like I said, I really appreciate your time. I'm actually running out of time, but Vernon, I appreciate you being on the program this morning. I really do.
Oh yeah. Well, like I say, thank you for having me, and hopefully I could answer most of your questions. And it was a good experience doing this too.
It was great. I'm sorry, because I'm a little delayed on connection, so sorry if I lost a little track. It's my headset, but it was great, and it's always an honor for me to speak with a professional ball player. So I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Vernon Geishert, 1969, California Angels. Until next week, happy collecting to all.